Everybody ready? I call the Mexico City Council meeting for July 28, 2025 to order. Roll call, please.
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Miller,
Approval of minutes.
I move we approve the July 14th, 2025 minutes.
Second?
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Resolutions, reading by title only and passage. First one's Bill 2025-48. Resolution authorizing city manager to execute an agreement with various organizations. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor. The Tourism Commission has met and reviewed applications, and they have a recommendation for you. And to cover that recommendation, Vicki Dinky.
Good evening, Council. The City of Mexico currently has a tourism tax, as you know, that is collected by the hotels and motels within the city limits. The attached resolution authorizes the city manager to execute an agreement with the Audrain County Historical Society to receive tourism funding for their advertising campaign for their biennial event, Walk Back in Time. They have requested $10,665.67, and the Tourism Commission recommended funding their request for $8,597.67. Staff recommends that council concur with the Tourism Commission's recommendation and proceed with reading by title only and passage of the attached resolution. Do you have any questions?
Move for reading Bill 2025-48.
Second.
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes. Resolution authorizing city manager to execute an agreement with various organizations for recommended funding for the Mexico tourism tax. Move for passage of 2025-48.
Second.
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bill number 2025-49, a resolution authorizing city manager to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Central Missouri Veterans Monument Foundation. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor. This is coming back to council. Council had already given prior approval in regards to the concept of building a Veterans Memorial off of Teal Lake Road. The plan is now kind of in place. The memorandum is here. And to cover additional details, Drew Williford.
Good evening, Council. As Bruce mentioned, this is something that's been in the works for a while, and I believe it's a very good project. As you see on the screen before you, it's a general concept of the plan, with the circle area being what may be in your packet and may actually be included here if I can bring it up on the screen. As far as the memorial itself, now again, this is all sort of a work in progress, but this is the first step towards developing all of this. And we're excited to see all of this move forward here. So the Central Missouri Veterans Monument Foundation has been created to head this. This is part of the local VFW, and they have approached the city with all of this project and potentially even a little expansion of their parking lot going to the south there. To move forward with it, though, we do need some responsibilities outlined for both parties. Who's going to mow, for example? And the answer there would be the city will maintain mowing that, as we do right now. And then who will be responsible for the actual site once it's developed? Well, that would be on the Central Missouri Veterans Monument Foundation. So any improvements to the site, any kind of maintenance, if you're talking concrete, if you're talking the monument itself, all of that would be the responsibility of the Central Missouri Veterans Monument Foundation. I'll henceforth call that foundation. If you look at the city as far as costs, there will be no direct cost to the city for any of this. We will likely support them with some overview like what you see here, a plan design that might provide a little bit of help as they build the project, but as far as direct costs out of the budget, there will be none. So we anticipate no problems moving forward. We've reviewed the MOU and they have as well. All parties are in agreement, so we'd recommend moving forward with passage of the attached resolution. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
So taking out the curved road that takes you onto Honeyfield for the parking lot,
Right, yep.
Okay.
So that was actually in the budget for this year, and then also the widening, if you see the white lines on that, it's not very clear, but that would be widening Huntingfield Drive to be 2 12-foot lanes, and then also widening the intersection, which you can't see on there either, but we would put in a 60-foot radius to accommodate the agricultural vehicles and semis that go through there. That would become a T intersection, and essentially that would now eliminate this somewhat of an awkward and almost traffic safety concern.
Yep.
Will the stop signs stay up there at the top of that hill, or?
Yes, you mean at the T?
At the T?
Yeah, no change to traffic control is planned at this time. If you're talking about up at kind of south of where this is on this map, is that?
Yeah, the eastbound has to stop, I think is the only stop sign there is right there.
I think you're.
Seems like the incoming
Right.
from the gravel road there's no stop sign, but maybe there is. Anyway.
I'd have to look at that one to refresh myself on that, but I think you're stopping as you're going south. I think so southbound traffic, I think is stopping there, and then I think eastbound, it's hard for me to remember on that one. I can get back with you on that.
At the top of the hill is where it's just kind of weird, there's a stop sign at the top for just the eastbound up at the top of that hill.
We can certainly look at all of
Before you go
that.
across that, it turns into gravel that direction.
Okay, yeah, we'll certainly look at
So
that.
who, if there's snow removal, is that on the city or is that on the
That would be on,
monument?
anything beyond mowing, that would be on the
Anything
Central
down there?
Missouri.
So replacement of the parking lot in 30 years
Yep,
or so
yep.
and that sort of thing?
Yep.
Is there a possibility to put signs out on the highway directing, that lets visitors know that it's there?
There are what they call destination signs. We've seen those throughout. Whether MoDOT's policy on signs has somewhat changed as of late, and I'd have to talk to them to see how they view that as far as something that could be done. I'm sure I do see those throughout other communities, so it's likely we could come up with something, whether it's on a MoDOT highway like on 54 or 22, or whether it's in town. We can certainly work with that if it's on a route that's controlled by the city.
Could we hover a blimp above it that has a,
That's a good way to get attention. Yep.
yeah, I think signs that get people in there would be nice. Looking forward to having it.
Pleasure of the council.
I move for first reading of, let's see, where are we here? Bill number 2025-49.
Second.
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bill number 2025-49, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Central Missouri Veterans Monument Foundation for use of a portion of Teal Lake Road. I move for passage.
Second.
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Bill number 2025-50, a resolution authorizing city manager to sign a memorandum of understanding for engineering services with Audrain County. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor, as part of the ongoing project between the city and the county and public health in regards to support of the intent and development plans, demolition plans at the old hospital site, they're asking that we assist them with some staff time regarding engineering services to help with that. They've already approved this agreement. To cover any additional details, Drew Oliver.
And council, let me apologize first here. I failed to mention that we do have members present from the foundation, what you just voted on tonight, to take any questions. It was my intention to make that known before the vote, so my apologies there. If you did have anything that you needed to ask them, you're welcome to do so. That's my fault there.
Should we take back the vote?
Otherwise, I will continue here with this resolution. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. As Bruce mentioned, this is a memorandum of understanding for providing engineering services. The hospital project is going to be a significant venture, and thankfully, we've got the staffing to help support it. It's common for us to develop bid packages for our projects. It's common to work out contract management, contract administration. These are all things we believe we can handle in-house, and we can add support to the project for. And so we developed an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, for this concept to help with the we're going to call it the abatement phase first, which is going to include the idea of asbestos, hazardous material, universal waste, and then moving on to demolition, which will be split into a couple phases after that. So this will cover the whole project, start to finish, from even the last and tail end part being the idea of restoration for the site. So anything involved with that project would be covered under this. This would treat city staff time as somewhat in-kind contributions to the project for labor, and then any kind of direct costs, you could say advertisements in papers, things like that, could be reimbursable as well underneath this MOU. So this outlines the responsibilities, once again, similar to the prior one of both parties. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the county has reviewed,
approved it
accepted, and
earlier today.
approved. Yep, today. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Is there a time frame for any of this?
Yes, we put out the abatement, and I think we're going to get into some of that in the latter part of the meeting, but we put out the abatement in the newspaper just last week on Wednesday. We've sent out an email to, I think, 12 to 15 contractors at this point, pre-bid meeting for abatement. And again, when I say abatement, think asbestos, hazardous waste, universal waste. And this is for the whole entire site. This is Stribling, Cornerstone, the big building, Cancer Wing, the whole thing. We're looking at a pre-bid meeting to require all the contractors to walk through the sites. That'd be the 13th of August, and then the actual bid opening, I think, is the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. So by the end of August, we will know a cost for abatement, which you may see an estimate, an engineering estimate for abatement in some of your packets. That is an estimate, so we'll see. We hope that we're a little high on it because it's a pretty expensive cost, but by the end of August, we should know.
I move for reading of bill number 2025-50.
Second?
Gray.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.
Haig.
Yes.
Weber.
Bill number 2025-50, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign a memorandum of understanding for engineering services with Audrain County. I move for passage.
Second.
Gray.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.
Haig.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Bill number 2025-51, resolution authorizing city manager to sign an easement with Missouri American Water for a new water main near Kiwanis Lake. Mr. Slade?
Yes, Your Honor. As part of the school district's plan to construct new tennis courts, there's a water main that needs to be removed and replaced, relocated, if you will. And to cover the details of that, once again, Drew Wilford.
Oh, Council, this is a project that will relocate about 560 linear feet of potable water main owned by Missouri American Water. As Bruce mentioned, this is relating to the creation of construction of the new tennis courts over there for the high school. It turns out there was a water main with an easement through there, and as part of the process, the engineer, OWN, out of Columbia, excuse me, has developed an alternate location for that main that places it on the other side of Plunkett Park Road and actually puts it into Plunkett Park itself between the lake and Plunkett Park Road. We've reviewed the easement, and they provided an exhibit. Everything looks good. We don't anticipate any negative impact to the park. So at this point, we'd recommend that we proceed in donating the easement at no cost to Missouri American Water in support of the Mexico High School project here. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Can we dig out a little bit of the lake while we're there?
That'd be an interesting addition to the agreement.
Oh, okay. I don't know if they, so. I move for reading of bill number 2025-51.
Second.
Gray.
Yes.
Briggs.
Now you.
Yes, sorry.
Haig.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Bill number 2025-51, a resolution authorizing city manager to sign an easement with Missouri American Water for a new water main near Kiwanis Lake. I move for passage of bill number 2025-51.
Second.
Gray.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.
Haig.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Bill number 2025-52, a resolution authorizing city manager to accept temporary construction easements for Muldrow Phase 2 sidewalk improvement. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor. As part of this ongoing project for the sidewalks along Muldrow, we have a couple of properties that their steps do protrude out and need to be replaced, and we've got some agreements to work with those folks to cover the details. Once again, Drew Williford.
But as Bruce mentioned, there's only 2 properties affected by this. Council may recall we had to get about 7 easements a few weeks ago, months ago, however you want to call that. And that was partially due to a right-of-way error that occurred. In this case, this is 2 locations where we didn't think we would need the easements, but after looking at the sidewalk and looking at where the steps lie, we need to go ahead and remove the steps. And in order to set them back, we're going to be on private property. These are not locations where the driveway is the concern, funny enough, but these are locations where the steps are. So we've requested this from the property owners to be donated at no cost. It does conform to the Uniform Relocation Act, no cost to the city in getting these easements. We do have them in hand, and we'll submit them, actually have been submitted to MoDOT for review, and they're under review right now. If approved by council and approved by MoDOT, we'll move forward with getting the steps removed, and this project will be closed out here very soon.
Nice.
It's been a long time coming, we'll say. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Move for reading of Bill 2025-52.
Second.
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes. Bill 2025-52, a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept temporary construction easements for the Muldrow Phase 2 Sidewalk Improvement Project, TAP 4400, 312. Move for passage, 2025-52.
Second.
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Other business, staff reports, authorizing replacement sanitary sewer along North Washington. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor. We have a sewer line in this area, and that we lack some access that prevents us performing general repairs and maintenance that we need to remove and replace. And to cover the details, once again, Drew Welliver.
This is Drew Welford, tonight,
It's the Drew Show.
Did you want to set up here?
My apologies.
Set up here?
No, my apologies. We're spending some money on this one. We've got a location in our sanitary system that we found. As you may know, we're doing some work as part of the ARPA stormwater projects on North Washington, but when we were evaluating the sewer in that area, just south of there, so think south of Allison, we found that the sewer has several problems. And so when we were looking at that, we asked our on-call contractor, Plan B Development, who's also the one that won, the contractor who won the bid for the North Washington Stormwater Project, for a quote to fix these sewer problems. They provided a quote of $23,760. This one is a bit unique in that we have a large underground brick box culvert that they will have to go underneath in order to do the work. So that may be why you notice a little bit of a more expensive tag on this one, but it is a necessary repair, so we would recommend we accept their quote of that $23,760 and authorize Plan B to move forward with replacement of the line and the manhole along North Washington Street. And again, this is just south of Allison, between Allison and the town branch. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Shouldn't it be cheaper since they're already there, right?
You can make an argument for
Okay.
that.
But they didn't see it that way?
Didn't see it that way, no.
okay.
They saw that box culvert. That's an interesting box culvert. It's old, and they're going to have to dig under that somehow, so.
I move for approval of the replacement of the sanitary sewer along North Washington Street between Allison Street and the town branch for Plan B development for $23,760.
Second.
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Discussion on the Main Street Mexico downtown tree proposal. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor. Main Street Mexico has presented to you a proposal to plant trees in the downtown. They came before you at a meeting and presented this. In your packets is the information that they presented to you. There's also a map that indicates the locations that they wanted to plant. And last week, after the packets were out, we did send out by email a petition that was signed by individuals in the downtown to you in regards to those in support of the project. Now, I will start by also saying that, trees in the downtown do enhance the downtown and do provide, important character and ambiance, or whatever you might want to say, to the downtown. Now, as we look a little bit at history, 30-plus years ago, sidewalks were replaced downtown with the brick sidewalks, and trees were planted. And as time went, obviously, those were removed for various reasons. And time had its effect on those trees and the sidewalks. And since then, ADA requirements have become more evident and more strict in regards to clearances. Those trees developed problems and ultimately were removed. And as you know, the city was pretty much the last one standing that had to deal with all those things. Those folks at that time, brought forth a plan and supported it and thought it was a great thing, and everyone supported it and believed at the time, and it was, but again, things change. As the last one there again, it becomes that just like this proposal, the ownership of that right-of-way is city right-of-way. And so therefore, regardless of who does what, we will be the owners, That means we also accept liability. So there will be work done in the right-of-way, and so we have to make sure that we talk about, appropriate signage, safety, barricades, roping the areas off, et cetera, during construction and so on, from tripping hazards or whatever. We also need to look at the maintenance of trimming to watering to whatever. We certainly want to make sure that the tree wells where things are planted, those bricks, we do keep and not damage them, because we do have opportunities where we're places we do need to replace at times, so we don't want to lose those. From a liability point of view, we want to make sure that we avoid any tripping hazards, from making sure that how those areas are maintained, and any future tree damage, all those issues, we have to make sure we're coordinating on those. As said earlier, downtown has changed over the years. We have to worry more about ADA clearances, sight distance viewing, and we've had a number of sidewalks that have been replaced, and, the bricks have gone out, and we have to have the ADA pads and so on, and there'll be more of that. And so the point being with all of that is we need to make sure that we're smart in these tree plantings, we're strategic, we enhance the downtown, not detract from it. So we certainly need to consider the number and the placement, and all that's important. So council, as we move forward with this, I would certainly recommend that we do give approval to plant trees, understanding that we have liability, know that going in, and that we really need to work with Main Street to develop the plan for the placement, the install procedures, and the maintenance, such as an MOU type of agreement that we've seen a couple of this evening. So, again, we would support the idea, but we need to make sure that we're doing it in again, we're back to a smart, strategic, logical, enhanced process here.
I read through this, and the idea of planting trees is a really nice idea. I know we have had some failure with it in the past, and I hope what they've put in this plan will help address that, because it's different trees, and maybe it'll be different. And I really appreciate that we've had young leaders of our community step forward and offer us some things. What I understand from what you're saying is that I've read through this, but we still need some work done in cooperation between this group and the city, right? I mean, we still need all of that to be worked out, right?
Yeah, I think we need to
So
do
mainly what they need
more
to
work,
know
yes.
is whether we approve them doing it
Yep.
to start with. So I'm going to move to allow Main Street Group to plant trees downtown with the understanding the city accepts the liability, and with the understanding the city and Main Street coordinate an agreeable plan for planting and maintenance. Will that cover everything? Okay.
Second.
So that would cover maintenance of the areas where they're planted, so when people throw down their cigarettes and they make messes, they throw their bottles from the bars and the wells and all that kind of stuff. That means that who's going to take care of that? That means that's going to be worked out, is that
That's
what
all
we're saying?
part of that plan that we work out, and in
Part of the
conversations.
MOU, right.
yeah.
Okay.
And in conversations I've had with the Main Street folks, I believe they are prepared to do those things. We just need to make sure we put that in the plan, that it's in writing, and we all agree.
Okay.
But these areas will be flat, you know, it's not going to be like mounded up. From what I understand, it's just going to be a flat.
We need to be
grade.
careful about, how it's dealt with. Is it a grate? Is it mulch? Is it whatever? Because we want to make sure we don't create a tripping hazard.
Right.
Yeah,
But it won't be a bowl for trash or.
we hope
anything.
not.
Well, and the others were that way too. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm old and I was involved when we replaced the sidewalks downtown and all that other stuff. Thought it was a wonderful, wonderful idea at the time. And it turned out not to be so wonderful, in my opinion. And I just want to be sure we don't go through the same things again. And when you're seeing a bowl, I understand that, but things do have a tendency to settle where the trees might be planted. They might be below the grade of the sidewalk, and that makes a great place to throw things, make it a great place for people to trip. We got to keep in mind, obviously, the ADA thing with people with wheelchairs and walkers, et cetera, so I'm sure that's going to be open soon.
Yeah. And there are some areas where there are, sidewalks are narrow enough that you cannot plant because you just don't have that clearance. So we need to pay attention to all those things.
Between the planting bed and the building?
Correct.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
we just need to be careful how we're doing it, that we make sure we're following the latest rules.
And I love trees. I lamented the fact a while ago that I don't have any trees in my yard, so, and I'm used to having them. So I have no problem with trees anywhere. I love them.
Yeah, I second that.
We-
I think it's our,
So-
oops, I better say.
I guess my question though is, we're not going to plant 92 trees right away, I get that. Where do we stand upon passage of it? Like, does Main Street still have to raise money to get, I see 10 to 20 trees this fall. Are we still raising money for that? Do they have money for the 10 to 20 trees?
I believe they've done some fundraising already, and I do think they have received some foundation money to start the project, as
So
I understand.
probably the goal is by next year, this time, we have 20 trees somewhere in the downtown area, 10 to 20 trees.
Probably more
If you
than
would
that.
like, I think we could, Alex is here, if you would like to defer that question to him, maybe he can answer that.
If I may,
Yeah.
I will answer only what I'm asked and nothing more, sorry. To cover the most traffic streets downtown, we would need 40 trees. So that's I think Jefferson and Washington and the square. 20 trees wouldn't cover the kind of most trafficked areas when you think of downtown Mexico. We do have funding in place now. We received a grant very gratefully from the Edmonston Foundation, and they have been very generous with that, and that grant, although kind of specified different things that we could buy that for, was fairly substantial. Additionally, we have an organization that is potentially going to donate to us, pending how things go on their end in the very short term. So from our standpoint, from the Main Street standpoint, it's very feasible for us. Oh, and we raise money through the Jeep event. So we can very feasibly get those trees downtown if given the approval. We're very amenable to not doing 92 trees all at once. We want to work with you all. I think tonight we're just really hoping to get approval for planting trees, and then we work with parks and the city to really understand what's best from the city standpoint. And we hope that this is the beginning of that process and not the end. Did you have any other questions? I realize I did.
Well, I think, it seems to me like you're talking numbers of trees, and it's kind of, you're approximating the number of trees, and
Yeah.
you still have to work all this out
Right.
in detail. There may be some you decide you don't want there or
Right.
so. But I think the motion allows you to go ahead and work with the city and try and get all the details fine-tuned and.
Correct, yeah.
So-
And we really tried to do our homework. The last thing I'll say is that signature petition that we sent your way, I didn't want to bombard you with more information, but I spent cumulatively 5 hours, and 2 other volunteers did too, downtown, getting all those petitions from every single business, and we did not get a single person that said no to signing.
Those are all downtown. I mean, I was reading all
Those
the
are
names, there's all downtown.
Either managers, workers, we got every owner we could in the short amount of time that we had, so, yeah.
One last question, and not necessarily for Dr. Fink, but will we have the opportunity with the motion to hear again what's going to happen, or will that be?
I'm taking the motion that we need to go back and work out a plan, and then we'll bring that plan back like an MOU for you to vote on, just like the other ones this evening.
Okay.
We had a second, right?
Yes,
I'd go for a vote.
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Good luck.
Next one, discussion on the hospital demolition plans. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor. In your packet, you have some information. And not to try to read everything to you, but to understand for the viewing audience as well. Given the scale of this site, we have to approach this in a phased approach and somewhat in steps. In order to bring this site back to a buildable, ready site. As you know, we've agreed with the county and Public Health Department to move forward in the healthcare group, and in fact, the council has agreed to help support this financially and everything through the county. And there is a number of things we have to deal with, and a far number of things we've had to deal with that, quite honestly, we really probably didn't know when we went into it. Such things as we had to deal with a lot of leftover records that was left in the facility, and that's all been cleared out. We had to deal with nuclear waste and some of the machines and things that we had to deal with, and that's been taken care of. We also have some underground storage tanks up there as far as fuel, petroleum, and tanks that need to be dealt with, and the county's working with that right now. So each step, it seems like there's always something more than we ever anticipated. And as a government agency, and we are bound to follow the rules. It's just that simple. Now, as we look at abatement of materials up there, which is kind of the first phase of this, is basically 4 different steps here. We have to deal with asbestos, and I think most people really kind of know what that is, but that can be just simply from removal of floor tiles to more labor-intense issues such as the spray-on fireproofing and insulation and some of those things. But all of that has to be dealt with. We have the asbestos removal plan that we've already had done. You also have hazardous materials that have to be dealt with, and this all has to be dealt with separately. Those types of things include aerosols, paints, adhesives, any oil, cleaning products, anything to that type of nature that's in there, we have to deal with and remove, and that has to be different. You have universal waste up there that has to be dealt with, and this is waste that exists in a lot of buildings throughout, and it's become kind of a standard disposal that you have to deal with, and recycling of some of these things, and some of these things include simply things like batteries, fluorescent light bulbs, ballasts within those lights, exit signs, fire extinguishers, anything to that type of nature has to be dealt with. And then the 4th item of this removal is what we call the infectious medical issues. And that can simply be such as the Sharpie containers that's hanging on the wall that somebody had for each exam room or whatever it may be. There is medical waste still there because when they left, as far as even new and unused needles to saline solution to whatever else, and all of that has to be dealt with separately and again, removed. Now, very fortunately, Public Health Department has a lot of experience in that infectious medical waste issue. And they have been helping us remove all of that, and in fact, they've already removed everything out of the Stribling and Cornerstone buildings. That's already out. And they're working on the main building at this point now. Then the plan ultimately is, after all of that's done, we need to go to demolition, is the plan. Phase 1 of the demolition is being proposed that we remove the Stribling House and Cornerstone building in Phase 1. Now, to back up just slightly, the abatement process of removing most of this hazardous materials has already been advertised, and that will be moving forward. We have meetings scheduled where they have to attend those meetings, and the bids will be later in August as far as getting that information. Then, obviously, demolition after that, which would be October, November bidding timeframe for demolition of Phase 1. Phase 2, which is the larger AMC complex itself, then would be after that point. And what we're looking at is obviously why that's a little later at this point is because we're still waiting on Boone Health's assessment of some of the pieces of that building, for one thing, to see if they want to keep anything at all. Now, realizing if they kept anything, it would be a full gut job and just main structure. They know they would have to replace everything within it, but that is still being evaluated. So, where we're going this evening with this is moving forward with the abatement process as far as asbestos, hazardous, universal waste, infectious waste, all of those things to move forward within the next few months. But what is part of that process that we ultimately will need to have you decide this evening is the first part of that is cancer wing. Because some of the things that we've talked about, such as universal waste, does not need to be removed if we're going to keep that portion. And then ultimately we'll have to deal with regarding demolition, which will be forthcoming as well. So tonight, what we will be noting for you is that we believe the abatement process is, $741,000 is our estimate. We'll know those bids in a month. The demolition of Cornerstone and Stribling building is probably another $250,000 is what we've estimated. We'll know that at one point down the road as well. Now, the county has already purchased or paid for the building, and so as our agreement with them to help share a cost, they're going to be looking for help to reimburse and pay these costs. So there's a couple of things we have to decide this evening, council. One is, are we doing anything with the cancer wing? Are we going to save it, is the point? Or are we going to move to demolition with it in regards to removing these materials? And two, obviously, the second point would be, is authorization to spend money in regards to this process. And as you remember, in the budget, we have budgeted $750,000 in this current year's budget, and in next year's total budget to do these projects and assist the county with this. And that's what we've agreed to doing within the last year to do all these things. So that's kind of where we're at with this. We'll try to answer any questions that you have. Drew's been working on this, other staff members, so any questions, we'll try to answer them now if you have, and hopefully we've given you some direction of what we're asking you to do this evening.
Well, I think we've finally reached our point of deciding sort of where we're going to move with that. And I can kind of remember when we started with this, the idea of this, wasn't it Boone Hospital who came to us and sort of raised the possibility of putting that cancer center there? Putting public safety there. They wanted the police close to them, and they talked about having City Hall there. So they were the first ones to raise up this building for us. And we've also took it seriously enough that we did the feasibility study. And I thought, in my view, the feasibility study was very, whether the cancer center would be suitable for a public safety or City Hall, and I was very encouraged by that. And then we considered the cost of we need a new City Hall, we need new public safety. When we were considering the cost of doing anything else, anything's going to be expensive, but that was far less expensive than building a completely new facility that would be both public safety and also be the City Hall part. So I am going to make a motion. I move that we save the cancer wing from demolition and secure and stabilize it for future City Hall.
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Haig,
Well, I have,
Yes.
so, I mean, if we just, I mean, my biggest question is, I mean, how far are we, I mean, from demolition?
We
We talked Cornerstone, we've talked,
Yeah.
I mean, Stribling.
we got a
So
couple
how-
of steps here.
so,
One
I mean,
is
you
the
talking like,
abatement.
I mean, next month, we're not tearing down
No,
the hospital or the cancer ward.
no, but the abatement process will begin, and when they bid on it, they will need to know what's in there. So the abatement side of it is the next step.
So if we backtrack this, why can't we just pull the cancer wing out of the abatement part of it and revisit it later? And then if we want to, if we decide eventually yes or no, it would be a no, then we could go back, abate it, and then put it in the turnstile to be demolished. But we can pull it out of the abatement right now and just have the other ones in the abatement
And
process.
if you notice the way the bid form is set up, it can be pulled out.
No, if we abate, everything's going to be abated unless we do pull that out.
But I don't understand why you would want to do that.
But the motion is not just for, to stop the abatement on the cancer wing.
The motion is just to secure the site, to stabilize it, and set it aside out of the demolition.
Which
That's
you
the
would-
motion.
You would have stopped abatement on that process then at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it could still, which would be a shame to tear it down, but I mean, it would still be eligible for destruction if we're not going to move there. But what I thought the motion was is for just not to do the abatement process on the cancer wing.
The motion was not to demolish the cancer wing. That was the motion, not for the
Okay.
abatement. So I agree with pulling it out of the abatement. I know
Yes.
we're a long way from demolishing that building or the hospital right now, which could be revisited at a later date.
But you still should stabilize it. As it sits there, it's beginning to deteriorate, so you still have to
So
stabilize
what part of this is stabilization? This is just abatement.
This is not on this one. This is abatement right now. And the question of that is if if you're going to keep it, you don't need to be doing some of these things to it. That's the
Exactly
point.
right. Exactly right.
And
I will vote no on this motion. I would agree to a motion to take it out of the abatement right now.
And I think part of the motion, if I understood it, is to make sure we secure it and stabilize, because right now there's access that we need to make sure we aren't having people in there and it's not deteriorating further, if I'm understanding
That's
where
the
you're
way,
going.
yes.
And I would agree with what Steve just said, whatever it was. No, I'm kidding. I would agree with what you said, totally agree with what you said.
But
I just want to make sure the wording is correct, because I heard demolition in there.
I did too.
So how do we need to word this? To take it out of abatement and secure it.
That's however you wish
Well,
to proceed.
I guess if I could withdraw my second, because I agree with Steve, I don't want to just talk about the demolition part. I want to, make sure that we're not moving forward with the abatement process.
Because if
It's not
down the
necessary.
road, we choose to save it, there's no reason to spend that money on it right now.
On abatement, right.
And I'm fine with pulling that out of abatement, not spending that money, and doing the necessary need to secure it so that we can look at it in the future.
And that building doesn't have any asbestos in it, right?
That is
No.
correct.
Yeah, because it's too new.
Right. According to the report we have, there is no asbestos in that portion.
Yeah.
There
And then-
is some
But
minor-
if you're going to use it, you're not going to disturb it anyway, so you're
Right,
not need to take it out or whatever.
And then as far as stabilization, I mean, is that going to be an expense? Are we
There will,
looking at?
I think there will be some expense to that, because we want to, from a securing point of view, as I see it anyway, my thought of it was to make sure that it's secured so that there isn't access from the other portions of the building. So that if somebody gets in the building, that we're making sure they're not getting into that area. Stabilizing it with me is making sure we do some general cleanup and keeping it from further deterioration.
I agree with all of that.
So how long do you think this process of demolition decision would have to be made along the lines of then whether we're going to put the city hall there?
Yeah. If we look at timing, right now, we need to know this answer on the abatement as far as the abatement materials. Demolition will probably come yet this year. We'll need to know as we begin the advertisement, what's in there, what's not, and what are they bidding on. So, Drew, based on your assumption and timing, we're probably looking October, November, is what are you thinking?
Can you clarify,
For a-
Stribling and Cornerstone?
No, demolition of the main complex with the cancer wing. When are you thinking?
I'm allowing 120 days for the work, it's calendar days, so you're probably likely to see that, was that in the October range? Yeah, that'd be about right. Probably more or less November by the time we're looking at bid and contract administration.
So, yeah, we're looking at still this year needing that decision.
So a motion to stabilize it,
But that's just bid. That's just bid.
They will need to know what they're bidding on. Is it in, is it out, what are we doing?
so,
Okay, so the abatement of the asbestos-containing materials on this form shows Stribling and the AMC complex at $465,000 total, right? Am I reading it correctly?
Yes.
There.
Right, that's asbestos.
Right. And then the
hazardous?
next part,
It's
which
the
we're-
hazardous, step for the hazardous materials.
and that's only $1,500 for the cancer wing.
Correct.
Okay, and the next universal waste is only only $15,000. What, who was it?
1,500.
The senator from-
15,000, yeah.
15,000.
Illinois said a million here and a million there. Pretty soon you're talking about money. Well, 15,000 is not peanuts, but it's a small amount. So we're really not talking about that much money at this point for the cancer wing. So if we have to go back and do it later, it's not a fortune to do it.
It's not a fortune you would have, probably the cost would go up for mobilization and so on, because you're doing this as a package deal.
So we're talking about $16,500 for those two things at this point. So if we went to 20 or 25, in the overall scheme of things of the $2.4 million is not very much, percentage-wise. So if we left the cancer wing out of these things, is my thinking at this point.
Well, so, yeah, and so here's I'm trying to wrap, so we have on here a line item of everything. And what I'm hearing is that we need a decision on demolition for everything. So are we going to is the bid going to come back for everything? Or is the bid going to come back for a line item that's on this sheet?
Right now, the bidding that's out, that we're looking to do next, is the abatement. Then we will move to demolition after that.
Tonight, we will then,
So it's a two-pronged project.
It's a two-stage,
Yeah.
multiple steps within each stage.
Yep. Okay. So again, we're just talking about abatement at this point.
Right now, it's abatement that we're talking about. And a demolition will be forthcoming.
Right. Well, I'm for leaving out the abatement, as Steve said earlier, of the cancer wing. And then I would vote for
But here's the thing is,
the other part.
so is the security part of it a separate motion? Because I do not see security on this sheet here. I just see
don't think we
abatement.
really know what that cost is yet.
So do we have to, so I'm just trying to understand that if we pass the abatement without the cancer wing, then do we send out bid for security of that building?
I think we need to evaluate that just yet, because maybe it's something we can do, meaning staff-wise,
Okay.
or versus trying to hire something done. It could be simply we can maybe chain some doors to keep things out, but we may all have to build a wall possibly as well to make sure. Now, as far as the cleaning and, some of that, just because of maintaining it so it doesn't deteriorate further, that I don't even know what that could be at this point. I don't anticipate that being large dollar amounts. I guess I would think most of that could probably done, I'm going to throw a wild number out, 5,000 maybe.
Yeah.
I don't see that being a big cost is the point.
so
Drew, do you see it differently than that? Do you see that being a big cost to secure and do some basic maintenance to secure the site,
No, I think.
stabilize it?
I think our our crews can handle getting the, we'll say, perimeter secure, and then I think hiring a company to come in and clean it, and I believe you're right on with it'll be less than $5,000 to hire that in. We just need to make sure it's scoped out right, that they're not doing extra work that's not needed, so, no problem.
There's still water running through it? Do we still have the water on and
The
sewer
water
and
has
stuff?
been shut off.
Is that a good thing?
Yes.
All right.
But you're still dealing with humidity and those things, and I'm not even sure we have an answer for that.
That's it.
But as you look at parts of that building, it is deteriorating quickly when we talk about mold and some of those things. And we just want to make sure if we're going to save this, we need to try to make sure that doesn't happen here.
Yeah, it'd be a shame to throw it in a landfill. It's a good building. And somebody needs to use it.
Yep.
Okay, so the motion, we've got a motion.
You've got a motion, you've got a
Well,
second. you've
the
got
second's
two-
been withdrawn
Well,
from
you've
it.
already got 2 votes, so you probably need to proceed with the voting, even if it turns it down, and then consider another motion.
Okay.
Well, the way I understand my motion is that we are pulling it out of being demolished with all of this you've got on here, and then we secure it and stabilize it. That's all I put in, that's all I said. So,
And I'm taking that to say it's pulled out of abatement and pulled out of demolition at this point,
okay.
as far as
Yeah.
bidding procedures. That's the way I took that motion.
Yeah.
So we got 2 votes.
You got, you're
Got two
halfway
yes
through the
votes.
voting. So you probably need to finish the voting. If it doesn't proceed, then you can consider another motion.
No withdrawal of the second then can be done.
We've already voted. We've already started voting.
But the problem
Okay.
is that we still need here's the problem, is you're still going to need, if you proceed like that, you're not going to send out a bid for the cancer wing, for the demolition. Correct? That's what you just said. You said you pulled it out of abatement and demolition.
It would be pulled out of that at this point. Now, if you wish to amend that of some sort to the point of saying, include it in demolition for pricing, we can, but, I mean, we've got an estimate already, but at this point, I think what the motion I'm hearing is save the cancer wing. That's what I'm hearing it to be said. So,
So I'm still confused, but I'm thinking kind of what you said, and I'm not trying to get ahead of the mayor's vote because his vote is before mine, but I would vote no, and then we would start the process over again in a couple of minutes and say, hey, what do
You
we
can
really mean
make another
this motion to be?
yep, that's entirely up to you.
Where are we?
Your vote?
No.
Weber.
No.
So that motion fails. So now, how do you wish to
Start over at
proceed?
square one.
So I would motion to remove the cancer wing from the abatement phases at this time.
I'll second it.
And secure the building.
Second
I can
that.
still say that.
Is that still a second on that? So do you have that motion?
Well, you're not doing anything, Nicole. You got all that?
But the securing part is going to come like when they start tearing. Well, I mean, they're going to, like the hallway that goes between the old part and the cancer
We
wing.
want to do that sooner, I think, than later.
That needs to
We want to
be-
keep people out of there so it
Yeah.
doesn't cause any more damage.
So we're going to put, plywood wall in
I
there.
think we need to proceed, if we have intention of at all to keep it, I think we need to secure it.
Yeah. Or rent it to somebody, anything, but just don't put it in a landfill, please.
Yeah, well, then when do we make the decision on demolition then?
We'll probably be back in a couple of months. Yeah.
But then we've got time to figure out what the heck.
Same thing, though, they had this for abatement, we pulled it out. Same thing, demolition.
we can
Get that,
get separate.
pull it out. I mean, it's the same thing, but we can't, if let's say they sent out for bid for demolition and Cancer Wing wasn't in it, and you said, well, I think we're going to demo it. Then we got to send out another bid. It's easier to pull that
We
bid
can
out.
keep it as an ad alternate.
Absolutely. Okay.
And that ad alternate can always be pulled out. Just like you're saying at this point, that's probably going to be, this motion's going to pull that out of there.
And he voted to secure it too, so, and I second that, so,
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
yes.
Hague,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
All good?
Okay.
Good on it? Okay. The budget, proposed budget.
At this point, council, what we're trying to do is to give you just kind of a very high-level overview at this point. And this is kind of an addition to what we normally kind of do, to include some additional input. So I think where I want to start at is giving you a little bit of budget preparation schedule so that you kind of have an idea of where we're at, where we've gone, and so on. So, department directors were required to submit their line item budgets, and so they did their work in April and May, and they had to have that in at the 1st of June. Then by the middle of June, we made them have their capital outlay requests in, and then we met with each department director in the first part of July to go over each of their budgets and discussions. And as a big part of that is balancing. Looking at what's necessary versus what's needed, what we can financially afford, what we can't afford, and what can kind of make in that overall budget and not. And one of the things that we always want to make sure of is that we are not overspending for reoccurring operation, O&M costs. We do keep reserves back for purchasing non-reoccurring expenses such as capital and so on, and that's, lots of times you'll see us where we've saved money, and so that's why we're spending that then. So, but that process is about making sure we're staying within our abilities of what we can afford and what we can do. That's what that process is all about. Living within your means, I think, might be a good way to put it. Now, 2 weeks from tonight, we will have our budget study session. We will start at 4 o'clock on that day, on Monday, August 11th, which is our typical process. We will spend a couple hours going through all kinds of things, and we will actually take a break and go into regular session and try to keep that agenda light for business purposes. And then we will come back and finish up the budget session. So again, in 2 weeks, that's going to be a 4-hour plus night for you, okay? Now, in that whole process, we also have to talk about property tax rates and making sure we get the public hearing in for those and have that done. That, by law, we have to have done by the end of August. So we have to have our property tax rate hearing and approval and get that into the county clerk's office before the end of August. September, we'll be back then with the first readings of the budget and approval process. So that's kind of the calendar in general. Now, from the high-level point of view, is I want to talk about a few things that's in this budget that we're proposing that will be coming to you. First of all, we're making a bit of adjustment in the public health area. And it is the public health area, namely, we've dealt with a lot of demolition issues as well as nuisance abatement. And we have, for a number of years, spent $75,000, $80,000 to $100,000 a year on demolitions. The current year, I think we have a budget of $75,000. Nuisances has been a much smaller area, but we have seen what we consider more of a need to spend additional dollars in that area. So we're going to be splitting this year is our recommendation coming to you, that there will be $50,000 for demo and $50,000 for nuisance abatement. And our projections are is we want to clean up some of these yards and some of these areas that have been setting for years. Will we get some of those funds back? We may, because ultimately, if we go in and clean them up, we will assess the property for those fees. So there may be an opportunity to reclaim some of those. But we believe that that is the focus that we need to concentrate on in the coming year. That's one thing. In this budget, it is time to replace the street sweeper. That is not a cheap item. That is a $300,000 piece of equipment. We have been putting money away for years now in the sanitation department in that fund, and that will pay half of it as planned, and the other half of that will be paid for out of the general fund. We will have in this budget where it's time to do a network upgrade of our computer systems. They are out of date, some security risks, and it's time to do some upgrades. Outside agency funding. All of the same agencies are being included at the same level of funding. As you remember, those from last year, we did increase some funding in a couple of those areas. But this year, we are proposing that we stay the same based on the dollar amounts that we have available. And so there will be no increases as far as any requests. It'll be the same level of funding.
What are a couple of those agencies?
We have what we call some contract agencies, and we have what we call some charitable agencies. Some of our contract agencies would be such as dealing with the Handy Shop for Recycling program. The Optimus Club for supporting the youth sports programs.
So those aren't things that can be funded by the tourism?
No. We also help with, fund the tourism issues for the chamber department as far as community awareness type programs and so on. So that, again, is not fundable there. So those are kinds of the things in the contracts agencies. The charitable agencies would be like the Help Center, Miss Missouri. Those agencies where it's really not providing a service to us, but we're supporting them. So, we're also proposing a compensation study. It has been since 2018. We normally try to do one every 5 years. We're out of date. So this is talking about where we should be with our pay scales, comparables to other communities. Now, as you know, minimum wage has gone up, and it's going up again. In January 1 of 26, it will be $15 an hour. We are subject to that minimum wage just like everybody else. A couple of our biggest areas that has caused effects with that is in wages, is namely pool. We have seen our wages in the pool basically go from about $90,000 a year because of these increases to $130,000 a year. So we're seeing about a $40,000 increase right there alone. When we look at income on the other side of the pool side, it's only going up about $12,000. So we certainly have, we're not meeting, if you will, the rising expenses. So at some point, we're going to have to talk about pool fees and where we're at.
Is that an inside study, or does an outside source come in?
Compensation, we go outside.
Okay.
We go outside. And they compare us to our comparable communities, and so they look at internal and external, if you will, factors to say where are we at. So not only will they try to look at what's in the community, but they'll also look at our surrounding areas and where our job market kind of is and who we're losing people to, and what's it costing us to lose those folks. So we're trying to hire from them. It can be the same.
Yeah.
So it's both. We're trying to look at an internal and external equity issue. So, Main Street funding to support the Main Street program, we still have in the budget. Wastewater capital projects, we're looking at, and if you remember where we've gone, and some of you were here at the time, is that we had a phase 3 of wastewater projects that they basically said we were going to do and borrow for. we changed how we were doing that. We said we're going to pay as we go because we didn't want to have those borrowing costs. And so each year, we program so much to try to get done, and in fact, I think we've done more by doing it this way, and we certainly haven't had the interest and borrowing costs and all that, so it's allowed us to do more. We're still looking at about $864,000 in improvements in the wastewater system, as far as timing of things coming forth. As we kind of talked earlier this evening about demolition and abatement and all of those things, we do have, out of the Economic Development Fund, budgeted $750,000 to help assist with the county in doing these projects, and that's in the budgets. Under the capital improvement sales tax, we were not as aggressive this year with some of the street work because of all of the ARPA stuff for stormwater, because we've got enough of those projects that we're trying to control, and many of those are also doing some curb and gutter and street work. And if you look at the street just north of us, Anderson up here, that's a whole new street situation, and much nicer than what we had. And so that's been funded more so under the ARPA programs. And we're moving very well with those programs, but so as we move into next year, we're looking at $650,000 in pavement repairs, $347,000 for Smiley Drive extension to move that project, $110,000 in sidewalk and curb and gutter work. So very aggressive schedule next year in those projects. Now, as we've talked about many times about City Hall project, public safety building, and so on, just to give you some idea as far as what we've been able to secure for funding and hold for this project forthcoming, if we do move forward with it, is that we're approaching the $4 million mark that we have set aside in our budget as far as reserve funds for it, and we have $700,000 budgeted and between the 2 years to get the project started. So we're right at about $4.7 million out of the $5 million that we said we would be able to come forth with for down payment, so to speak. So we're progressing well in that area as well. So those are kind of big picture. I wanted you to be thinking about those as we go in the next 2 weeks. At this time, if you have any questions about any of those, I don't want to get into the weeds at this point. I want you to be thinking more at this point. By the same token, if there's anything as far as items that you're thinking of now that you want to ask about, or be prepared in 2 weeks to say, hey, where's this at, where's that at, here's what we might like to see included, or whatever. So this was to get you thinking, is more than anything, but we'll be glad to try to answer any questions that you had, or any thoughts that you have at this time.
A relatively small amount, you're talking about 50,000 for demolition, 50,000 for nuisance, and it's 50,000. I've always thought we ought to devote more money to demolition, but you and I had a brief discussion one day in the last week or 2 or 3, and I'm kind of changing my mind a little bit, because I think the nuisance thing is at least as important, maybe more so, because I think people see that more than they see the buildings. But is $50,000 enough? What's that do as far as if we have to pay for the nuisance?
Nuisance,
Clean up, whatever you wanna call it.
honestly, to some extent, we really don't have a good handle. I mean, we budgeted $15,000 this year, and probably are going to go through that.
But we haven't been as aggressive with that.
We haven't been as aggressive.
As we planned.
And so we plan to be more aggressive with some of these things that have laid there for years that we need to address. So, quite honestly, we took a bit of a guess to say where we're going to be at.
Did we get through demo?
We went through all of our demo money this year. The last demo is going on right now. Now, one thing we've also talked about is trying to leverage that demo money to try to go after a community development block grant as well, to see if we can add to that.
Why could that not be put together as demo and nuisance, and then some years you have more demo, some
And
years?
we kind of do look at it that way, so that if we find ourselves maybe not spending as much nuisance, because it's really 2 line items in the same budget, one we could overspend and one be less. So yes, we do have some flexibility to do that with these 2 things, and we've talked about doing that as well. So it's just, we're trying to put a little more focus this next year to say, clean the messes up.
You know, it sounds like I'm saying some of this stuff, not a lot of money. $100,000 is a heck of a lot of money as far as I'm concerned. But, I would not, personally, would not object to that considerably increased over the 100 number. Yeah. With a combination of the two things.
I don't disagree with you. I think we could get there. The problem is, we don't have the money in the fund to sustain that.
Okay.
That's our issue. We knew going into these aggressive years with this, over the last 3, 4, 5 years, we knew we were spending more than the fund's bringing in, and even with this level, we're reducing that balance. So if we spent at that higher level, it's not sustainable. I'm not even sure this is sustainable. If we would go much more aggressive, you're talking we'd be out of money in a couple of years. I'm trying to stretch it out further.
Gotcha.
And there's no state matching on that, or?
At
you
this
said
time,
something
there
about a grant
isn't, but
earlier.
we're going to try to look at that. See if we can go after a community development block grant.
We still have apps for demo on the books.
Yeah, we do. We do. So there are some that is kind of in the queue for coming up this fall that some of this money is already going to be spoken for.
Okay.
Now, what we have seen in the demo side of it, what's really driven up the cost is the abatement, is the asbestos removal and stuff. It's just really driven those costs up. We used to be able to get houses down totally, for $5,000, $7,500, including everything. Now we're seeing just the abatement as far as asbestos and stuff being $5,000 to $7,500 a home.
If you don't go check, it saves money.
I don't look well in an orange jumpsuit.
But there's been matching funds in years past, right?
There's been an opportunity for some. We've been blocked out of some of them for different reasons because of other grants that we've had on the books. As you know, we went after the one this last year to get for the Hardin Gym.
Yeah.
So, there is opportunities now that we can start taking advantage of again.
Okay.
Well, thanks. That's some good information. so-
Just a good overview to be thinking about the next couple of weeks as we sit down and really get in depth.
Yeah, long night.
Good. All righty.
Pay the claims.
Second?
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Haig,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Council comments, Mr. Ray.
The music in the park was great. Thank you for that. If you haven't been to that, you'll get hooked on it. It's pretty nice. We've got a lot of talent in Mexico, I think. A lot of volunteers that help that happen, so thank you for that.
Very good. Mrs. Briggs?
Well, I've been gone, so I missed the big open house at Great Western, and I'm really sorry. I really wanted to be there.
Yep.
But it was 78 degrees where I was, and tomorrow it's supposed to be 115 heat index here. So no golf tomorrow. But anyway, just stay cool, stay safe.
I think I saw a meme that said, he goes, the heat index isn't 115, it's 115. Because they say, the temperature's 100, and the heat index, no, it's 115. Quit saying that. Mr. Weber?
I don't really have anything except for the Western Smokehouse thing was a success. I thought it was going to be a small group. I think they were surprised at the number that turned out, and the tours were really, really good. That's a humongous building, Jiminy Christmas. And they're going to fill it and have some more. They're talking about now even a phase 3 and 4, I guess, and that's all looking good.
Phase 1, they hope to have complete at the end of next month, and they're moving on to Phase 2, and hopefully that, their projection to be open by summer of next year with that phase.
So I heard somebody mention 3 and 4 at the shindig the other night.
So they're proposing out of Phase 1 to get up to 280 employees, and then Phase 2 should be 400 employees. So,
Wonderful.
Additional, 400 additional, or 200 total? Okay.
Yeah, total. Mr. Slagle?
I think I've talked enough tonight.
What about Drew?
You might outdid Drew.
Yeah,
the first time.
No, I think it was a
Long time,
competition
didn't
that I'd see.
I was going to thank the gentlemen, the veterans, for their service, and I think that'll be a great addition to the city. I think my wife was going by there, and what's that going to be? And so I had to explain to her, so that's going to be a nice addition. Yes, the Western Smokehouse was, there were a lot of people, and they should have charged admission to go through the, because I had football practice, so I had to get out, so I'm like, I'm going to go through the tour, and then there was probably 50 people in line, and they're only taking like 10 at a time, so I didn't get an opportunity to run through there, but I figured if I go out there sometime, they'll probably give me a tour, so.
I think
I'll
their
do that.
freezer's bigger than your house.
Yes, I mean, that is, but just very impressive about, they had all their vendors there and people that did the work and just understanding, so that's going to be a great addition when that opens up. Other than that, stay cool. It's warm, but I think it's supposed to be like around 70 Thursday, Friday. Get down there,
On Sunday.
be good. Get out and play some golf. You gonna play some golf?
Too hot. I'll be fine on Sunday, not
Oh, okay.
no
All right.
off tomorrow.
Okay. All right, it's time for public comments. If you want to make a comment, come to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Reve Moore. I am the Executive Director of the Audrain County Shelter Resource Coalition. That's at 626 East Summit Street. So I wanted to come and talk to you guys tonight, just briefly, about the room at the inn. If anybody's not familiar with that, I'd be happy to fill you in, but I can't do that in 3 minutes. So basically, this year, we are facing some funding situations. And as it stands right now, unless we are able to raise $30,000, which is what it costs to operate for a 3-month period, there will not be a room at the inn this year. And I don't know how that makes anybody feel, but that makes me extremely sad to know that there's that many people that may not have shelter through the winter. Just to kind of give you a few numbers to bring shelter to reality, last year we served 57 individuals. 21 of those we were able to move into transitional housing, which means that they qualified for that program. That alone should tell you that homelessness isn't always about the vagrants and the criminals and what have you. Of those 21 that we put in transitional, 7 of them were children from the age of 1 month to 11. And there's not much more sadness than to watch a baby come into a homeless shelter when it's 4 degrees outside and snowing. So the idea that we may not have that this year is very terrifying. So I came to you tonight to see if there was any possibility that the city would be able to help us with funding for room at the inn this year. And that is my request. I also brought a copy of our 2024 impact report, which outlines everything that we do, but specifically room at the inn is on page 6 and 13 if you would like a copy.
You get a big uptick during the winter months? Is that when you get the most, or is it pretty consistent year round?
Well, we only run the shelter December 1 through February 28th.
Oh, okay.
The winter shelter. Transitional housing runs year-round, and the resource center runs year-round.
Okay.
Is the organization a 501c3?
Yes, sir. And this will be our 11th year of room at the inn.
Do you get funding from any of the local foundations?
Specifically for shelter, no. We do get funding from Edmonston and some from Leach and some from Griffin. Griffin is specifically for transitional housing. Leach is unrestricted, and Edmonston, I think, is just for transitional housing.
When they move to transitional, like when they come there, you're working with them probably to maybe get a job, so on, so they can get to that transitional housing, things like that? Is that what you're doing?
They have to have a job or income to even get into transitional housing.
Okay.
So if we took 21 of those 57 out of there, they already qualify.
Okay. Yeah.
So some of the people that came in this year for shelter were people who lost their apartments or their house because, well, one was the guy the landlord had sold the house, and the kids couldn't find a place to rent. So they ended up in shelter with a baby. They're now in transitional housing. Mom and dad both work. They're trying very hard to get on their feet. They're a young couple. They are married. So we provide them that case management and that extra little push to help them.
Pass your things out.
And as I told Ms. Borgeson when we talked, we wanted to hear this, I wanted them to hear that, and then we'll take it under advisement. We're not going to make a decision tonight.
Right.
So we'll probably have a discussion about it and then maybe get in contact with you. Talk. Okay?
And on the front of that is our phone number.
Okay.
Anybody just want to call and come and visit, look at what we do, any questions? I always have a lot to say.
Okay.
Thank
you
you,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Second it? Okay.
Ray,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Pate,
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.